like to play with fire.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
Spent 12 years in the Army Fire Service. Met a lot of people, saw a lot of lives change. Some for the better, some for the worse.
Super 7,
All
you're
of them
cleared on at this time.
amazing.
Hey, what's shaking, Warfighter Nation? Ron here with Warfighter Ranch and Isaiah 6'8". When I was a brand new rookie firefighter, fresh out of AIT at the DoD Fire Academy back in the summer of '91, at what was then Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois, before it was permanently closed down years later, I never even imagined the possibilities of my future at that point. I turned 21 years old at the Fire Academy. The movie Backdraft came out during our class. Now picture this, 500 Joes, all military firefighters from all branches, packing a local theater on a Friday night, watching Backdraft, and then hanging out and heading out into the city of Champaign for the rest of the night. That's also the night I wound up underneath a static aircraft conducting PMCS with a female airman, where we were discovered by security forces at about 0230 at the working end of a mag light. But I digress. Shout out to security forces for being overachievers. But that's the old Ron. Yeah, I killed him, and thankfully, through Jesus, I'm here now. First Sergeant Parrish sure did love getting those phone calls, though. Good times. After 12 years as an Army firefighter and another 3 as a nuke biochem guy, I was medically retired. It certainly was not my plan at the time. I was actually devastated. But God, He had a better plan for me. Soon after, I got hired on as the New Mexico Hazmat WMD coordinator, one of only 50 positions in the country, and even did a tour there as a program manager for one of FEMA's 28 deployable task forces. Shout out to New Mexico Task Force 1 and the teams. I had worked on my incident command system and WMD training pursuit for so many years that I acquired the ability to serve in a command position up to and including regional and national level events. And then later I got on as an instructor trainer for Homeland Security. It was early in the war and I had a lot of experience having served as a fire chief in a combat zone and a combat tour in the Middle East in a chemical platoon. It was really the perfect combination at the time. But to be brutally honest, I was a bit depressed when I first retired and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But working for the government again, somewhere between emergency management and fighting terrorism, really sounded like a dream come true. I was medically retired, yes, but I'd still be able to get into the fight. Now teaching active duty National Guard and Reserve troops and first responders from around the country. It was truly an amazing time. We got to travel the country and really see the best of us all. I've told you once, I'll tell you again. Jeremiah 29:11 tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, and to give you a future and a hope." But there was one incident in particular during a winter storm in 2006 that was probably potentially the hardest mentally of my career. It took about 30 hours. Nobody slept. And it taught me those who can do and those who can't teach. So in '06, there was this winter storm, one of the worst New Mexico had ever seen. I remember working New Year's Eve, and it was just a brutal storm. Stopped everything. We had 40 miles of dead traffic on I-25. Somebody had a baby alongside of the road. I mean, it was pretty insane. We were going along the shoulder handing out MREs and bottled water to people who were stuck in traffic. If they ran out of gas, they ran out of heat. And it was a scary time for a lot of people, especially those traveling. And in the outskirts of New Mexico, there was a small beef farm that this couple lived at. They're paid to maintain it and tend it and take care of the cattle there. And them along with their local hands. And they've got, apparently they had 30 people that had piled up and were unable to drive and found this ranch house That's probably 1,200 square feet, which is plenty if it's just the two of you, but now that it's just the 32 of you, it's probably getting a little tight in there. And these people were amazing, and they called the talk at the state EOC, and I asked them to put this phone on speakerphone, and they held the phone up, and I said, "Is there anybody with any military or aviation experience?" And of course, there was a couple in the crowd, thank God. So our Warfighter Nation brothers and sisters stepped up, and the farmers had one thing in bulk, and that was grape Kool-Aid. So I said, "Okay, make it by the gallon. And I want you to go out and put that stuff in spray bottles," because they had spray bottles for the farm. So they went out and they spread this really wide spray pattern and made an LZ out of purple Kool-Aid for us to get an aircraft in. Why do we have to get an aircraft in? Well, there was a guy who had just had surgery in New Mexico at UNM hospital. He has heart surgery, and he only had a certain amount of medication getting back. And he had to go back to Louisiana. Well, he was going to be stuck in the snowstorm for longer than he had meds for. And this old man was scared, and turns out this old dude from Louisiana, I told him that's where I was born, and we were going to get him squared away and get him out of there. And when it was over, we got the Blackhawk in. The New Mexico National Guard was fantastic. Shout out to retired Colonel Mark Ariano, my friend and fellow warfighter, amazing dude, and his pilots had nerves of steel, I'm telling you. They pulled off some Night Stalker level stuff getting into that snowstorm, because it was definitely a no-fly zone. Now, I say all of this not to tell you of any great adventures or accomplishments, but to show you that at every stage of the game, we often think it's the end of our journey, when it's simply the first step in another direction. God has a purpose for every one of us at every stage of our lives. And I'll be honest with you, there was a time during that storm when all we could do was pray, because nothing short of God himself was going to stop that weather and enable us to get that old man some help. But he did. And now I'd be remiss if I didn't insert Romans 8:28 here. And we know that for those who love God, all things who work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. We are never truly finished until God says we're finished. Well, that's it for this message. You've got your spiritual chow. Pass it on to the next troop, next mission. Time now. See you on the other side.
Do not get off on exit